Here's some interesting stats that Steam recently released when it comes to controller use on Steam and how much it's grown over the years. They say since 2018, daily average controller use has tripled from 5% to 15%. So, the amount of people using controllers on PC and Steam has tripled in 6 years, which is pretty good growth. And that says 42% of those controller sessions are using Steam input, and the controller landscape has also changed. 60% of sessions using Xbox controllers, 26% are using PlayStation controllers, and 10% are on the Steam Deck. So a few things to kind of dissect here and break down. I am honestly very surprised that PlayStation is over 25% of people using controllers, because it's felt like more of a niche thing, people using PlayStation controllers to play their games, but I guess I was obviously wrong about that. I know the haptic feedback and just the overall quality of the DualSense controller, a lot of people do prefer over Xbox, and the fact that you can use it on PC, I think, the DualSense controller has helped in having more PC gamers use PlayStation controller. But yeah, 60% Xbox, not a surprise, because the Xbox controller was the first controller to really be compatible on PC, and because you have so many different ones too, because there are people who still use the Xbox 360 controller that still works. You can still play modern games with that controller on PC. Then you have the Xbox One controller, Series X controller, and obviously like the Elite controllers that are also pretty popular. The one thing that did stand out to me though is that daily controller use is only 15%, so keyboard and mouse is definitely still the dominant input method for PC gamers by a mile. I don't know what they mean by daily use. They mean like all Steam users, because obviously there's a lot of Steam accounts that are unused, or people just don't play games every day. So does that account for like 15% of active users each and every day, or is it just like all Steam users? They didn't really break down what they mean by that number and that figure. And I'm someone who honestly uses controller a bit more than keyboard and mouse. When it comes to certain games like FPS games, I do prefer the keyboard and mouse setup. But if we're talking about an action-adventure game, racing games, 3D platformers, fighting games, I use exclusively controller on all those genres, because it just feels a lot better. It's a better experience, in my opinion. And the great thing about PC is that you have that choice. You have options. You're not restricted to using one specific input device. And Steam input is also a huge thing, because there are a lot of games that don't have native controller support. So Steam input's able to bridge the gap and kind of add that in, where you can use these games on Steam with controller. But to be fair, there are very few games these days that come without native controller support, outside of games that really aren't that practical to use controller for, like an arena shooter or something like that, But yeah, I definitely use controller probably like 80% of my play sessions at this point, because I don't really play like these really competitive online shooters, because that's like the time when keyboard and mouse is a necessity. But if you're just playing casually, which is pretty much what I do in my life most of the time now these days, then controller is a more attractive option. So I'm not surprised that there's more people using controllers on PC, because I'm someone who definitely prefers PC over console. I'm never coming back to console, but just being able to be hunched back on your seat with controller in your hand is an experience that I'm glad that I'm still able to have, and in a lot of ways I still prefer. So let me know in the comment section, if you're a PC gamer, like, give me just a rough estimate, like, what percentage of your play sessions are done with keyboard and mouse compared to controller? Because for me, like I said, it would be like 80% controller, 20% keyboard. But I'm curious to see what all of your input preferences are, and also, if you do use controller, what specific controller do you like to use? I love the Series X controller personally. That D-pad is pretty amazing for a modern controller, and it just feels great. But I've actually never used the DualSense controller, so maybe that's something I should get into. But anyway, that's it for me for today. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.